Hello, it's me, guy who owns a restaurant. Just kidding. I don't own any restaurants. Anyway, so there I was on the Panda channel recording a video with Aaron, with Aaron. I had something in my lips. Talking about the 10 best Pokemon in the current Sword and Shield metagame. Now, if you want to see the final list that's on the Panda channel, you can check it out yourselves. However, I thought it could be interesting to show kind of the process, like the bit of the debate process that went into that video. So, if you're interested in a little behind the scenes and kind of more Aaron and I deciding what our list should be rather than just the final list, I guess technically you'll get both the final list and the process here, but. Yeah, you can check out the final video on the Panda channel if you're interested, and otherwise you can watch the process here. I thought it would be kind of cool to show you all kind of how Aaron and I were interacting and how we determined the list. So anyway, enjoy the video, and please leave a banana. Goodbye. Okay, do you want to start at the top or you want to start at the bottom? Which do you think makes more sense?
Top is easier, I feel like.
I agree. Are we doing top 10 or top 15?
I think it was 10.
Okay, cool. 10 works. Number 1 is Rillaboom, right? Are we in agreement there?
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like that's the easy one. Like, yeah, I think every game I played yesterday, the opponent had Rillaboom, and I played 5 games. So, yeah. Cool. Well, that was easy.
My top 3 going into this was Rillaboom, Cinderace, and Togekiss.
Okay. Yeah, I had Rillaboom, Cinderace, and I didn't order them, but I knew Rillaboom and Cinderace were up there, and yeah, I thought either Togekiss or Dragapult would probably be next, but yeah, I think it should be Togekiss. S3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Cinderace is crazy. Like, it's ridiculously strong.
I agree.
And Togekiss is, I mean, it's funny because you would think that my assumption would have been when Amoonguss joins the fray, like, Amoonguss overtakes Togekiss, but it's not really the case thanks to, I think, Dynamax.
And I feel like, I don't know, because people like shifted from like offensive Kiss to like defensive Kiss for a while, but then now it's like max speed scope lens is just like kind of busted again, especially because like steel types like Duraludon, Durant, and Excadrill have kind of fallen off, so it just has more space to just like sweep through teams.
100%, and it's still, the thing about Togekiss is its natural bulk is still good enough that you can always just click the follow me button, like you just want to follow me on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I would agree with that. So I think that's a pretty solid top 3.
Yeah.
So
I feel like
the ones that... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to move on, so if you have anything else to say about Togekiss... Then...
Nope, that's it.
Okay. So I think like grouping the next like Pokemon that are generally close together is probably helpful, so... I think contenders for next strongest mon, so like T-Tar, Incineroar, Dragapult, maybe Amoonguss, though I know it's not getting that much usage. What do you think? Maybe P2 or Dusclops in there?
Yeah, so I like wrote out a list before this, and I segmented it based off like support versus like offense oriented.
Right.
So on their offense, yeah, I had like Tyranitar. Tyranitar is an interesting one, right? Because I feel like you're not using it as a sweeper anymore, but it still disrupts like a lot of the like strategies. Like for example, it just beats like Sun Trick Room super hard by itself.
Yes.
And so it's not like teams aren't like focused around it anymore, but having it is still so good because the weather changing for your like main sweepers I think is really valuable. I had Venusaur up there. I think Venusaur is interesting just because like I personally haven't liked using it, but it seems like a lot of people like Gmax Venusaur especially just like adds mind games immediately. In terms of offensive stuff, yeah, Dragapult was up there, and then like I had some question marks, but like ones that I thought were interesting were like Porygon Z, Hatterene, Lapras, Primarina, Azumarill, Marowak. So that like rounds out like the offensive components. And then for defensive, it was like Whimsicott, Indeedee, P2, Amoonguss, Incineroar, Dusclops.
Yeah, I had all the defensive ones on there, but I didn't have any of the offensive ones. Okay, so it sounds like we agree on T-Tar, Venusaur, maybe Dragapult as well, like should be up there somewhere.
Yeah, I would think so.
I think Tyranitar should be pretty high personally for the reasons you said. Like, the fact of the matter is that if you don't have Tyranitar, like it seems like some teams like Torkoal Charizard or Torkoal Venusaur just become extremely difficult to deal with.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah. So I would probably personally maybe even put Tyranitar as high as number 4 on this list, potentially.
Okay,
but
yeah, I can
come
get
back
behind
to it as well.
Yeah, I definitely think it should be in the top 10 though, just like because it like is like kind of a easy answer against a lot of the things that can be used.
It felt, when I was using it yesterday, it felt super strong. Like there's just so much you can do with it because it's nice because also like I feel like something that people aren't really talking about is with the addition of Lash Out. you have like it actually sometimes is stronger not to Dynamax depending on the situation.
Yeah.
And that like Tyranitar was already a Pokemon that you didn't have to Dynamax, which is always strong. Like a Pokemon, like I think the strongest Pokemon, oftentimes are Pokemon that can Dynamax but don't have to, such as Togekiss.
Yeah.
And Tyranitar also fills those boxes because. Yeah, like of its high natural base stats and good like coverage moves and like it hits hard on its own. But with the addition of Lash Out, if you pair it with a Bulldoze user, like you can do some big damage like without Dynamaxing, which I think is pretty valuable.
Yep, I definitely agree.
Cool. Yeah. So just I guess you told me the remainder of your list. My mons that I think are in contention were just Venusaur, Porygon 2, Dusclops, Incineroar. These aren't ordered. Dragapult, Indeedee, Amoonguss, Whimsicott, Porygon Z, Excadrill, and I had Duraludon in there as well. I know Duraludon's had some pretty high usage, and like it does feel like there's a lot of redirectors and a decrease. Like somehow Cinderace is the best Steel type right now, which doesn't really make any sense.
I really agree. I think personally it's super underplayed. Like one of my first team actually like just for fun was like a rain team with it, and it was like AV Fake Tears, and I was like. It like so many teams legit just like lose 1v6 against it, like, and so I think it's
Duraludon?
yeah legit. Yeah. I don't know because like so many people are just playing redirection folk strat, and it like beats all like the redirection users pretty well too, right? You have Max Lightning for Amoonguss, Max Darkness for Indeedee, Steel Spike for like the fairy like Togekiss and Clef. So that's actually a really good one. Yeah, I didn't put that on the list, but I think it's worth arguing for, especially because I think most people won't have that on like classic top 10 list.
Yeah, because I saw I was looking at the usage stats to get some inspiration, some idea of what people are playing, and I saw Duraludon is like pretty high, like higher than I would have expected. And I think also what we have to consider is that Pokemon like Excadrill and Durant are trending downward, which does two things. Because number one, both those Pokemon beat Duraludon with their strong max ground moves, and the second thing is that like Duraludon, like the niche that those Pokemon fill, it can be filled by Duraludon because like, yeah, I mean the top Steel types right now are Excadrill and Duraludon for some reason, and Cinderace.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I think that's something we could consider as well. But I like some of the other ones you mentioned. Like I just felt like I really wanted to put Marowak on here, but I just wasn't like I'm not confident enough in like using it because the thing about Marowak is that you pair it with like a Trick Room Setter, and then both your like unless your Trick Room Setter is like Taunt Dusclops, both your Trick Room mode just loses to Amoonguss.
I agree. Yeah.
And so that's like because I really wanted to use Marowak in the Players Cup, and I decided against it because like I didn't feel like I could use it because like it's like I want to use Porygon 2 Marowak, like well if they have Amoonguss I guess those two Pokemon just like can't get like a Trick Room up,
Yeah, like I think you're pretty much forced to have like Hat on the team as well, and then your team building is really limited because it's like you already have like Hat, Indeedee, Porygon 2, and Marowak.
Yeah,
which admittedly is like
then I left.
It's like a really strong mode, but it's like if that's the only team that it really fits on, what's what are you doing?
Yeah, especially because Hatterini and DD is something that people are really countering right now, especially with Rillaboom usage being so high. So
yeah,
I did have a DD on this list. Yeah, so what are the other Pokemon feel are definitely top 10? So we have 4 kind of confirmed right now: Rillaboom, Cinderace, Togekiss, Tyranitar, and I would say that for me, I probably would want at the very least probably Venusaur, Incineroar, and Dragapult on the list as well.
I think those are all fine. Yeah.
It's tricky because like the meta's changed, so maybe like maybe Incineroar shouldn't be on there, but I feel like
the main thing that's just tricky is like like defensive versus offensive because it's
right,
like I love Whimsicott, like I think it like it's like my first go to if I want to use like any Tailwind based strategy, but then it's like in a vacuum it's kind of weird, like is Whimsicott really compared to some of these, so. Right. But I think the ones you listed all I would be fine including. I mean, Incineroar in terms of usage right now looks like it's like top 3 to top 5. So just some pure usage is good. Plus, like it still really fits onto any team.
It's also really nice. Like I don't know, I've been using it as a Rillaboom counter, which is I think pretty valuable because like it's like one of the few Pokemon that has a good matchup and also supports the team. Like you can use Arcanine as well, but I do think Incineroar is better in the current format.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, Intimidates against Cinderaces are also valuable, especially if they're not running like Bishop stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be fine to include Incineroar, Pult, and Venusaur, I think.
Yeah, we can come back to ordering later, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you think we should include Indeedee? I think that's the next question.
It's so tricky because like it is pretty one-dimensional, right? Like you only really see it with like Hatterene, and otherwise it's like if I'm going for a redirection user, that is not my pick.
Right, because why would you use Indeedee over Togekiss and Amoonguss?
Yeah, like in terms of usage, it might be top 10 right now, but I personally don't peg it as something that will like. It feels more like a fad than any. Like it's still going to be used, of course, but it feels like the the flavor of the month because everyone's just like expanding force.
I think I would consider Indeedee more if it weren't for the fact that Rillaboom is so present because like the main point, the main reason Indeedee shot up in usage was the addition of expanding force, which granted is extremely powerful, but when you consider that like almost every team has a way to overwrite the terrain, an easy way to overrate the terrain, I should say, it becomes more difficult, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, otherwise, what's the DD has follow me, but not great stats, helping hand. Like, what is it? It doesn't do that much better than the other. It's expanding force. Like, expanding force and psychic terrain are the other reasons to use it, and those are both really nerfed by grassy terrain. So I personally would be cool leaving it off the top 10.
Yeah, I would too. Maybe we can come back based off what else we see rounds it out, but I'm inclined to agree with you on that. Like, I think it's... The usage stats for it is crazy right now. Like, it's number 3 apparently on Battle Stadium doubles, and then, like, top 10 on Showdown, but for the reasons we listed, I don't know. Like, it's not that thing alone that scares me. I guess it does say something that, like, it kind of forces you to... I mean, like, teams just, like, want to slap Rillaboom now because it's like, oh, what's the easiest way to counter in DD Rillaboom? So the fact that, like, you have to show enough respect maybe still shows that it's a potent threat, but yeah, for now I'm okay not include. Like, maybe we can include in, like, the honorable mentions before, you know,
for sure. Like, it's close. If it's not top 10, it's pretty close, I think, but, like... Yeah, I mean, it's one... I hear what you're saying about having to respect it enough to add Rillaboom, but also if, like, the number one Pokemon in usage is, like, the Pokemon that invalidates your strategy, that's probably not a good thing for the Pokemon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it invalidates it. Like, you can, of course, still follow me, but... Yeah, I mean, then you're just using DD and grassy terrain, which doesn't sound super strong to me.
Yeah.
Okay. I also would pretty strongly consider Whimsicott for the record. I think maybe that's another one we come back to, because I think that's going to be right at the cusp. Do you think Amoonguss makes the list? That's my next question. I haven't used it. Yeah.
It's still really good, in my opinion. Like, the problem with it is it's like, it's like... It feels like there's some matchups where you just like can't really justify bringing it at all, but the ones that you can bring it in is just so freaking incredible. Plus, like, you still have a little bit of flexibility in terms of like what attack you want to go with it, and like the item. It is tough though. I don't know if I could call it like a top 10 mon though, because it's not like that I mean, I guess it's like fairly flexible, but I haven't been like super... I guess, like, when I play against it, it doesn't feel like a big problem, but maybe that's because I'm just making sure my teams have, like, good Amoonguss counters because I don't want to lose to it.
Yeah, I've been showing a lot of respect to Amoonguss in team building, like, a lot. But it would feel weird to make a top 10 list with Amoonguss, who is arguably one of the best... Or a top 10 list without Amoonguss, because Amoonguss is one of the... It's, like, it's won Worlds so many times, and it's always a key player. You know, wait, it hasn't won Worlds more than once, am I wrong? 11 and 13, right? Yeah, 2 times.
Yeah.
But it's always a... Like, I can't remember the last time Amoonguss was legal in a format. It wasn't a key player. Like, it was big in 11, 13, 14, 15, 16 it was used a lot.
Yeah.
18, 9... It was used... It's been a crucial Pokemon every format it's been legal, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that's a pretty strong contender for one of our last slots, but we can come back to it.
Yeah, we have 8 right now, right? Or 7. We have Rillaboom, Cinderace, Kiss, Tyranitar, Incineroar, Polt, Venusaur, which I think is a really solid list so far.
I agree.
I don't know. I feel I like Whimsicott a lot. Like, it's just so easy to
I think Whimsicott should be on there. Like,
yeah, okay. I'm happy throwing up. And part of the reason is because, like, if you look at what's on our list, like, it's some of the fastest Pokemon in the metagame, right? And these are Pokemon like Dynamax majority of the time. So it's like if you pair... And, like, the easiest partner, in my opinion, and one of the scariest things to see in Team Preview is just, like, Cinderace or Dragapult plus Speed Control. Because you're basically saying, hey, I'm going to get outsped at this point unless I have a way to stop your Tailwind, which is normally Fake Out, or Trick Room, or to counter with my own Tailwind and faster Mons. But I think because, like, some of these things are just so oppressive immediately, you add Tailwind to the mix. Whimsicott's, like, in my opinion, the best Tailwind user. And it's just, it's just so hard to really deny. And so, like, that just, like, and because it's, like, a Dynamax format, like, early pressure means so much. If you can, take that momentum and get the most out of those 3 turns, you often just win the game. Like, yeah, I'm inclined to put Whimsicott up there, too.
No, I agree. I mean, Tailwind was buffed so significantly thanks to the speed changes, and when you consider, like, yeah, Whimsicott is by far the best Tailwind user. And when you consider that it has, like, other really good support moves as well, and you consider that Fairy is, like, a decent offensive type, and, like, Moonblast is a very strong attack in addition.
Yeah.
I don't know. I definitely think it belongs on there. And there's a lot of things Whimsicott can do that's disruptive, right? You can have Taunt, you can have Beat Up. Like, I think Beat Up alone makes it... You have a pretty strong case to put it on this list, because if you don't have an answer to Beat Up, you can just instantly lose a game. It has Tailwind, it can do Fake Tears, and you always have the old Trick Eject Button strategy as well, which, like, is actually viable, in my opinion.
I agree, yeah.
So, yeah, so I'm down to put Whimsicott on the list. What were your other offensive Pokemon?
I
What would you
had
consider for this?
Porygon Z, which
I have that as well as one of my contenders.
yeah, Porygon Z, Hatterene, but that's mainly with Indeedee. Like, it feels weird because I don't think you're ever going to see one without the other, right? So it feels like
I've seen Indeedee Cinderace. That was kind of strong, but
oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah, yeah. I think in general most Indeedee teams will have. Actually, it might have had Hat and they just led Cinderace. Actually, I'm not sure. Which would make sense. Yeah, Indeedee Hatterene is a combo. I feel you, but yeah, go ahead.
Let's see. Arcanine, but like that kind of fills the role of Incineroar as well. It's not really offensive. And then for offensive, it was like Lapras, Primarina, Azumarill, Marowak, and then you mentioned Duraludon, which I think is a really interesting one.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't put Azumarill in top 10 personally.
I think I agree, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I also wouldn't put Marowak personally.
Yep, I'm fine to cut those.
And Primarina was so strong, but with like Rillaboom, right?
Agreed, yeah. Like that alone just makes it so, because even if you max it, it's like you're going to take 50% plus from a Grassy Glide.
Yeah, you take so much, and it's so, as a Rillaboom player, it's so easy to position to like stall out Dynamax or get Primarina to 50% or whatever, or Azumarill to 50%, and then just bring in Rillaboom and be like, all right, well, like I can KO you at any point for the rest of the game, as long as my Rillaboom's around. So yeah, I think that personally I would drop those.
Yep, that's fine.
I agree. PZ should definitely be in contention. I agree. Duraludon should be in contention. So my current like contenders right now are Amoonguss, PZ, Duraludon, maybe Excadrill.
What about what do you think of P2?
Oh, P2 I think as well. Like, yeah, I think Porygon 2 is really strong. So I would definitely consider that as well.
Yeah, it's just because like.
And Dusclops. Should we consider Dusclops?
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Because like Dusclops has kind of fallen out of favor. I mean, it's still used. Like Pikalytics is telling me like 12% on Showdown, but Porygon is actually in like top 5 usage right now.
Yeah, I feel like that might be new toy syndrome. Like I don't know. Like I like Porygon 2 a lot, but I mean maybe it was a team thing, but when in the Players Cup when I played against Porygon 2, it was so much easier than playing against Dusclops.
Right.
But the Dusclops also had Will-O-Wisp, but my team was weak to Will-O-Wisp, so like, you know. I don't know. Maybe that was a team thing, but yeah, I think they're both contenders, pretty strong contenders. Probably over even a Pokemon like Excadrill, I think.
I agree, yeah. I think, like, one of them definitely needs to be on the list, because it's, like, Trick Room feels like a really viable archetype, and it's, like, these, like, one of the reasons it's strong is because I feel like there's a really strong ways to enable in P2 and Dusclops.
Yeah. So I'm removing Indeedee and Excadrill from the list.
Okay,
from my contenders, which leaves us with the 5 for the last 2 slots that I currently have are Amoonguss, Porygon Z, Duraludon, Porygon 2, and Dusclops. Is there anything else that you feel like should be on there that we don't have right now?
That's pretty good to me. Yeah, I think, like, I know Brendan's a big believer on Lapras, but
I don't think Lapras is cutting it right now.
It's still tough when, like, you know, 2 of our or like if you look at our like top 5, like we have Rillaboom, we have Venusaur, we have Tyranitar.
Even Cinderace, because you
can max knuckle, and then it changes typing too. Yeah, I agree.
And if you Aurora Veil and they Skill Spike turn 1, like you like don't do any damage to it either. So, yeah. I think we talked a bit about Primarina and Marowak, and like Primarina is invalidated by Rillaboom. Marowak also somewhat invalidated by Rillaboom because they all have knockoff, and like Marowak needs its item to actually do something, and then also Amoonguss totally invalidates Marowak, in my opinion. Though Marowak I think is a close contender, but I don't think I'd put it in top 10 personally. And Urshifu, do we agree that Urshifu is bad?
It's not. It's like I think like a really smart player. Like actually, I saw Eric Rios is playing in some like huge Spanish tournament with like 1,500 players, and he's top 4 with it right now.
Really?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's never his sweeper. Like his team is Porygon Z, and actually like seeing him use it is part of the reason why I was like, okay, maybe this thing's actually really good. Yeah. And it seemed like Rillaboom was pretty much used as like a late game sweeper, which is how it should be used in my opinion. Because right now the problem is that all these players are just like, oh, let me just lead with it, and then it faints after Dynamax into like a fairy type attack. So. I would not put it on the list. At least early meta, like it just hasn't impressed me at all.
Yeah, I think it has extreme potential, but until I see it, I'm not going to believe it because there's a lot of Pokemon that have potential and just don't have a way to manifest that. And Urshifu has some major problems.
Exactly.
But in the hands of on the right team, it could be devastating because the ability is so strong. But there's a couple things holding it back. And until I see it, like I won't believe.
Yeah, definitely.
So, okay, let's talk about, I think you're right, either Porygon 2 or Dusclops has to be on the list, and at the moment, not both of them. So do we think Porygon 2 is better right now, or Dusclops?
It's funny, because, like, personally, I'd probably still use Dusclops, although, actually, what I found was the problem, so I've been playing with, like, some Sun Trick Room team, it, like, reached number 1 on the ladder on, like, the first day, and it, like, I didn't play, like, I didn't get to number 1 with it, some guy did.
Okay.
But it's like, I lost a bunch of games yesterday because I was like, this team just like loses really hard to like Togekiss, Tyranitar, and then just like anything that threatens Dusclops. Like so like Max Darkness from Tyranitar, like Life Orb Dragapult. Without redirection, like Dusclops doesn't feel like super consistent. Whereas like P2, even if you don't have redirection, a fake out user, like there's almost nothing that one shots it, and that alone I think could maybe give an argument for it, just because. No, so like I feel like you really need a Dusclops answer in this format, or like since the start. Yeah, plus like usage for it is slightly higher, but like you said, I don't know. I would personally maybe still use Dusclops over Porygon if I'm starting with the team. It just like maybe Dusclops needs a little bit more support, whereas Porygon allows Trick Room to get it set up a little bit easier.
Yeah, for me, I feel like it's like Dusclops' supportive options are better in Trick Room, but I agree that Porygon is easier to set up because there's not, like, the only good fighting type we've had has been Conkeldurr, and that Conk is gone.
Yes,
like,
yes.
So, I think for this top 10 list, we should probably put Porygon, even though, so for the Players' Cup, like, I was building, and, like, I initially was like, Porygon 2 is very strong, I'm going to build around Porygon 2, and in the end, I ended up using Dusclops as my Trick Room setter, so, yeah. Like, and I wanted to use Porygon, but Dusclops is better, like, was better for what I was trying to do. But... yeah, so even though personally I would use Dusclops, I think Porygon 2 is better in like it requires less support, it like requires less and it gives less, if that makes sense.
I agree. Yeah, definitely.
Which makes it more like splashable, like you can use it without redirection, for example, because you're right, like the main players in this metagame, a lot of them have positive Dusclops matchups. Rillaboom has knockoff, Cinderace has Max Darkness.
Yep.
Tyranitar has Max Darkness, Venusaur beats both of them, I guess, with Sleep Powder. Dragapult and Incineroar, they all hit Dusclops for super effective damage. So... yeah, I think it makes sense that Porygon 2 would be... It's more consistent at getting Trick Room up, I guess. Thanks to its typing, even though it does... like I like Dusclops' ability to haze, I like Pain Split, I like Nightshade's consistent damage output. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think it was really good analysis.
I think Dusclops is definitely still worth such a mention, because, like, I mean, it's just an insane mon, honestly. Like, Pain Split is disgusting, right? It's like, if you play smartly with it, and, like, you can just bait out so much damage, and, like, the fact that not only can you heal back, but also give it to your opponent, I think is insane. Especially because it's one of the newer mons. I don't mind including it. Like,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Dusclops gives you like the option of Bulldoze, which isn't something you have with Porygon.
True. Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Lost my train of thought, but
I'm sorry.
You're good.
Okay, cool. So my last three for the last slot are Amoonguss, PZ, or Duraludon. Do you have anything that you think we should be considering for the last slot as well?
No, I think that is pretty much it.
What would you, if you had to pick one of those three, what would you say?
It's so tough because personal preference makes me want to say Duraludon. Like, I really feel like this thing is, like, you know how it was like super good in the early meta, and like people kind of were like, like it's not as good anymore, and it fell out of like favor for a lot of people, but I personally, like, playing with it, thought it was freaking incredible. I still do. Let's see. So if we were to pick it, we'd pick it over Porygon Z. Like, Porygon Z might be more common just in terms of usage rate right now, but I think, like, Duraludon, especially with Assault Vest, or Weakness Policy. I know, like, Gavin's running in the Players' Cup, like, Bulldoze Arcanine with Weakness Policy, Duraludon.
Oh, that again, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, like, I don't know. Just because, like, redirection is so common right now in NDD, Togekiss, Clef, like, all these things.
Amoonguss,
and Amoonguss, like, I feel like Duraludon is, like, just...
a good medical.
Exactly, just to beat all of that.
Yeah, so I agree that PZ's not making the list. I personally feel weird not including Amoonguss.
That's fair, yeah.
I feel like we are super, like, just because people haven't figured out how to use it yet, like, I feel like, especially when okay, think about it, like, my opinion is, like, okay, Amoonguss is broken, and Amoonguss was broken when we had terrain setters that were good terrain setters that set terrains that weren't grassy terrain. The two terrain setters we have right now are grassy and psychic, and... neither of those are deny sleepy terrains. You know?
Yeah.
That being said, Rillaboom is on every team, which means every team has an immunity. So, it goes kind of both ways there. But, I'm down for Duraludon. It just feels so wrong to not include Amoonguss.
No, I think you're right. I think in general it's more... like, Amoonguss is an easy argument to make, whereas Duraludon's like, hey, like, I like this Pokemon a lot, but its usage definitely is not in the top 10. It's not even close to that right now.
We're not paying that much attention to usage.
True. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I would find to round it out with Amoonguss because it is, you know, like you said, like, I mean, it's just an insane thing, and like sleep has been, you know, such a good condition in this game, which is why like people are fine even using Sing or Sleep Powder and having a guaranteed sleep if you and that's like you throw the Koba or Focus Sash, and it's just like almost guaranteed to at least get one spore off. And I think like it forces your opponent to either switch into a grass type like Rillaboom or Whimsicott, or set up terrain. And if they're setting up terrain, it means they're using Max Lightning or Max Fairy, and both of those suck against Amoonguss, right? So it's like they're trading one turn of really strong damage output solely to set up terrain. So I would be fine running it out with Amoonguss.
I feel bad though. Like I totally resonate with what you're saying about Duraludon, and like I think it makes a lot of sense. It's just like I don't know. It's Amoonguss. I don't know. It's so strong.
No. I think I'd be fine including it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then for like we could do like an honorable mention section, and I think like Duraludon should be there, PZ should be there, Dusclops should be there, NED should be there.
Yep. Writing those down. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'd be down for honorable mentions. Anything we missed? Maybe Arcanine. Is Arcanine still like getting a lot of usage?
Some people are. Yeah, I mean Fast Snarl.
Yeah.
Plus,
I played against a Safeguard one yesterday. Rillaboom number 1, right?
Yep.
I like Rillaboom, Cinderace, Togekiss in that order.
I do too. Yeah.
Okay. Bottom, I think Amoonguss, then Whimsicott, then P2, or Amoonguss. Like Amoonguss 10, Whimsicott 9, Porygon 2 8, or Amoonguss 10, Whimsicott, or Porygon 2 9, Whimsicott 8. Do you think Whimsicott or Porygon 2 are better right now?
I'd put Whim over Porygon, I think.
Okay, so you cool with 8 Whimsicott, 9 Porygon, 10 Amoonguss?
Yes.
Okay. The 4th slot is either Tyranitar, Venusaur, or Incineroar, or Dragapult. I would probably put Incineroar at 7 or 6. Personally.
I would too. Agreed. Yeah.
So that means either T-Tar, Venusaur, 4 or 5. So I'd put T-Tar at 4, probably.
I think that's fair. Wait, where are we putting Pult?
Oh, sorry, right. So the contenders for 4 are Tyranitar, Venusaur, or Dragapult.
Right. I feel like I put Venu the lowest out of those personally.
I was about to say the same thing. So I would say T-Tar or Dragapult number 4, and then Venusaur number, I guess, 6 or 7, and then Incineroar into the other ones. So Incineroar, Venusaur are 6 and 7, and then T-Tar and Dragapult are 4 or 5.
Yes.
So do we like T-Tar more or Dragapult more? I might like Dragapult more. I'm not gonna lie.
Me too. I think people just haven't been playing with it very much, but it's still really good.
Yeah, like the immediate fast offensive pressure is like kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
And then I probably would put Venusaur over Incineroar personally.
Yes, agreed.
So that would make our current list would be actually finished. It would be Rillaboom number 1, Cinderace number 2, Togekiss number 3, Dragapult number 4, Tyranitar number 5, Venusaur number 6, Incineroar number 7, Whimsicott number 8, Porygon 2 number 9, and Amoonguss number 10.
Yep.